Welcome back to Cursed by Choice. We are back with another story. Let's move to it.
My name is Edward Thomas Caldwell, and before I tell you anything else, you should know this. I still polish a pair of shoes I have never worn. Every Sunday morning, without fail, I wake up earlier than I need to. There is no alarm. There is no schedule to keep. My body just knows. It knows that Sunday is the day I take the shoes out of the closet, the day I sit on the edge of the bed and lace up nothing, the day I prepare for something that never arrives. I say my full name out loud sometimes, Edward Thomas Caldwell, just to hear it exist in the room, just to remind myself that I once belonged somewhere that required a full name. The shoes are black, formal, expensive in a way that still makes me uncomfortable. I bought them years ago for my retirement party. Not a wedding, not a funeral, something in between. Something that was supposed to mark the end of usefulness and beginning of rest. I remember telling the salesman I needed them for an important day. He smiled and said they last a lifetime. I didn't ask him which lifetime he meant. I keep the shoes on the lowest shelf of my closet, away from the light, wrapped in thin paper that has yellowed by time. When I take them out, there's always dust on them, no matter how carefully I store them. Dust is patient. Dust never forgets. I wipe it away slowly, like I'm erasing evidence of how long it's been since anyone saw me dressed for something meaningful. I don't rush the process. I never have. I sit down, straighten my back, and place the shoes in front of me as if we're listening. I unscrew the polished tin carefully, the same tin I've used for years, and the smell hits me, leather or oil, something faintly chemical. It smells like preparation. It smells like expectation. It smells like a future I thought I could already earned. I polish them the same way every time. Small circles. Even pressure. No shortcuts. I talk while I do it. Not loudly. Just enough for the room to hear. I tell the shoes about the week I've had, even when nothing happened. I tell them what day it is. I tell them that I'm still here. And as I work, I imagine people standing in front of me, co-workers, managers, people whose names I once knew. Waiting to shake my hand, waiting to say something kind, something final, something that will explain why I gave them so many years. By the time I'm done, the shoes shine like they're brand new. Like they're ready. And for a moment, just a moment, I feel ready too. Then I put them back in the closet. And the week begins again. The retirement party was supposed to be on a Friday. I remember the detail because Friday used to matter to me. There were the days when people smiled a little more, when emails ended with "Have a great weekend," when time felt like it was loosening its grip. My retirement date was circled on the calendar in red ink, June 14th. I had written it carefully, slowly, the way you write something you believe will change your life. Edward Thomas Caldwell. Retired. I practiced saying it in my head for weeks. At work, they told me not to worry about anything. "We'll handle it," my supervisor said. "Just show up." Show up. 2 simple words that carried the weight of 42 years. I imagine balloons taped too high on the wall, a sheet cake with my name misspelled, a speech that went on too long. I imagine clapping that felt polite but sincere. I imagine walking into the room wearing those shoes, hearing someone say, "There he is." That's why I bought them. I went to the store on my lunch break, still wearing my ID badge, still answering calls in my head. The salesman asked if I needed them for a special occasion. I said yes. I didn't say which one. I stood in front of the mirror and looked at myself from the waist down. The shoes made me look official. Like someone whose time had been accounted for. Like someone who was about to be thanked. The week before the party, I started bringing things home from my desk. Slowly. Quietly. A framed photo. A mug from a conference I didn't remember attending. Pens that didn't work anymore but felt wrong to throw away. Every day, someone would say, "Big day coming up, huh?" And I would smile the kind of smile that doesn't invite follow-up questions. The day before Friday, my supervisor stopped by my desk. He didn't sit down. He never did, and the conversation wasn't going to last. He cleared his throat and said there had been a change. Budget issues, restructuring, HR competitions. He used words that slipped past me without landing. He said the party would have to be postponed. Just for now, he added, as if time were a drawer you could open later. I nodded. I told him I understood. I told him it was no problem at all. The next day was Friday. I woke up early anyway. I shaved more carefully than usual. I laid out my suit on the bed. I looked at the shoes and thought, not yet. Around noon, my phone buzzed with a generic email wishing me well in my retirement. No mention of a party. No mention of a room. Just a digital goodbye sent to everyone, including me. By Monday, my desk was gone. They said I could come by any time to pick up what I'd left behind, but there was nothing left that felt like it belonged to me. My access badge stopped working. My email login expired. My name was removed from the internal directory. 42 years, reduced to a locked door and a polite smile from a receptionist who didn't recognize me. That's when the shoes became something else. They weren't just for an event anymore. They were proof that I had prepared, that I had believed, that at some point someone had told me my presence would be acknowledged. Every time I polished them, I replayed the week in my head, looking for the moment where things could have gone differently. The conversation I could have pushed back on. The email I should have sent. The day I should have insisted on being seen. But the truth is, I never missed the party. The party missed me. And so I keep the shoes ready. Because if I stop, it means I accept that the last chapter of my life goes without an ending. And I am not ready to live with that silence. After retirement, the days lost their names. They were no longer Mondays or Fridays, no longer beginnings or endings. They became stretches of light and dark, measured only by meals and silence. At first, I tried to stay busy. I told myself this was what I had earned. Rest. Freedom. Time. But time, I learned quickly, is not a gift when no one expects anything from you. I started polishing the shoes more carefully then. At first, it was just Sundays. That felt reasonable. Respectable. Then I noticed myself checking them on Wednesdays, brushing off imaginary dust, adjusting their position in the closet so they sat perfectly parallel. I told myself it was nothing. Just habit. Just pride. But habits don't usually come with this much attention. This much care. I began keeping the calendar again. Not for appointments, there were none, but for structure. I crossed off days after they passed, just to prove they had happened. Sometimes I circled dates for no reason at all. I told myself they were reminders. Of what, I never decided. But each time I flipped a page, I felt a quiet accusation of time moving forward without asking me if I was ready. Friends from work stopped calling faster than I expected. At first, I understood. They were busy. Then weeks passed. Then months. I thought about calling them myself, but I couldn't figure out what I would say. Hello, it's Edward. I no longer belong where you know me from. That felt way too much to ask of anyone. So I talked to the shoes instead. I told them about the weather. About the groceries. About how strange it feels to wake up with nowhere to be and still feel late. I told them about the party that never happened, how I sometimes imagine it anyway. People standing around awkwardly, unsure when to clap, waiting for someone else to start. In my imagination, it's never perfect. But it exists. And that's enough. Some evenings, I open the closet just to look at them. The shine holds. 到来对还行快去。They are 已经 better than I am. I wonder if objects feel disappointment. If we know when they've been prepared for something that never arrives. I wonder if they're waiting, like I am, for a moment that justifies their condition. I 开始 mirror in the hallway and catch my reflection. Older now. Slower. My hands don't move the way they used to. But when I picture myself wearing those shoes, I still stand straighter in my mind. I still look like someone who is expected somewhere. Someone who will be noticed when he enters a room. That's the part one misses the most. Not the work. Not the responsibility. But the moment when people look out because you have arrived. When your presence required acknowledgment. When your name meant something outside of your own mouth. So I keep polishing. Because as long as the shoes are ready, part of me believes the invitation hasn't been cancelled, only delayed. And believing that feels better than admitting the truth. That sometimes preparation outlives purpose. There are moments now, quiet ones, when I try to imagine what could happen if I finally wore them. I picture myself putting them on, lacing them up slowly, feeling the leather tighten around my feet. I imagine standing by the door, keys in hand, heart beating with a reason. But the picture never completes itself. There is no destination. No address. No one waiting for me on the other side of that door. The image dissolves before I can take a single step. So the shoes remain unworn. People tell you retirement is the beginning of something new. That you'll discover hobbies, passions, a version of yourself that was waiting patiently beneath years of obligation. I tried. I really did. I joined the walking group once. Everyone talked about their grandchildren. I nodded and smiled and never went back. I signed up for a class at the community center, sat through 2 sessions, and realized no one noticed when I stopped attending. Invisibility is a strange thing. It doesn't arrive all at once. It settles in gradually, like dust. One day, you realize no one is asking what you think anymore. No one is waiting for your response. You can go an entire day without being addressed directly, and the world doesn't slow down to check if you're still there. That's when the shoes stopped being about the party. They became proof. Proof that I had once been necessary. That I had once prepared for something that involved other people. That my life had intersected with others in ways that required ceremony, acknowledgement, even celebration. Every time I polish them, I am reminding myself that I didn't imagine it all. That the years mattered, even if no one marked their ending. Sometimes I open the closet and the smell of polish hits me, and I'm transported back to that week before retirement, the anticipation, the quiet pride, the belief that closure was coming. I stand there longer than I should, my hand resting on the doorframe, my eyes fixed on the shoes like they might speak first. I think about all the milestones that came and went without notice. The last time I faced a problem no one else could solve. The last meeting where my opinion changed the outcome. The last day someone asked me to stay late because they trusted me. None of those moments were documented. None of them on this beach. And yet, here I am, still preparing. I sometimes wonder if this is what unfulfilled milestones do to a person. They don't break you. They don't make you cry in public. They just leave you in a permanent state of readiness. Waiting for recognition that will never arrive, but unable to let go of the version of yourself that deserved it. So I keep the shoes polished. Not because I expect to wear them, but because stopping will mean admitting that some endings don't come with a final moment. That some chapters close quietly, without applause, without witnesses. And I am not ready to accept that just yet. This morning feels heavier than the others. Not in a dramatic way. There is no sudden realization, no sharp pain, no moment that demands attention. It is a quiet heaviness, the kind that settles into your bones before you notice it. I take the shoes out of the closet like I always do, set them in front of me, and unscrew the tin of polish. The routine begins the same way it always has, but my hands hesitate longer than usual. I study the shoes more carefully this time. The leather, once flawless, carries fine lines now, creases that never came from walking, only from waiting. The shine still holds, but not effortlessly. It takes longer. More pressure. More patience. I realize, slowly, that they are changing. And with that realization comes another, quieter one, so am I. I polish in smaller circles today. I take breaks. My wrists ache. I let them rest. For years, this ritual felt like preparation, like practice for a moment that was simply running late. Today, it feels different. Today, it feels like reflection. Like I'm not getting them ready for the future anymore, but preserving them for memory. I think about my working years, not in grand achievements, but in ordinary moments. The mornings I arrived before everyone else. The evenings I stayed late without being asked. The problems I solved quietly so things wouldn't fall apart. No applause followed those moments. No records remain. But they existed. I existed in them. I whisper my name again, Edward Thomas Caldwell, and this time it doesn't feel like I'm trying to convince the room of anything. It feels like acknowledgment. This was my life. These were my contributions. They may not have earned speeches or cake or polished floors, but they were real. For the first time, I imagined the retirement party clearly, and I let it go just as clearly. I no longer need the image of people clapping, of hands shaking mine, of someone standing up to say a few kind words. Wanting that didn't make me weak, but needing it kept me suspended in a moment that had already passed. I stand and place the shoes by the door. Not as a promise, not as a possibility, just as a recognition. They don't have to be one to be justified. Some things are meaningful simply because they were prepared with care. As the day moves on, I notice I don't feel the usual pull toward the calendar. I don't count the hours. I don't imagine tomorrow arriving with something attached to it. Time feels softer now, less demanding. The silence remains, but it no longer presses against me. It sits beside me instead. In the evening, I return the shoes to the closet. Gently, deliberately. I don't rush, and I don't linger either. I close the door without looking back. There is no loss in that motion, only completion. I understand something now that took me years to accept. Not every life is marked by milestones that others recognize. Some lives are built on consistency, on reliability, on being present even when no one is watching. And that does not make them small. If you are listening to this, and you've ever prepared for a moment that never came, if you've waited for acknowledgement that quietly passed you by, then this story is for you. You are not invisible because you were overlooked. You are not unimportant because no one gathered to applaud you. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for listening.
I hope you like the story, so don't forget to share it and subscribe to my channel.